Hey there YouTube, it's Ian here, and we're going to be setting up a simple network using the address table that I made myself. First of all, we have a total of 6 devices that we need setting up. So we're going to place the devices on the plane. We have one router, one switch, and 4 end devices. I'll be using a 1941 series router and a 2960 series switch. I'm going to go ahead and put the end devices on the map. I'm going to move it over a little bit, that way you can see it better. There's our 4 PCs. Now once we've got this far, what we're going to do is we're going to need to connect all the PCs together using a certain media. Now since they're all locked devices, we're going to be using a simple straight through copper wiring, also known as a Ethernet cable. It's proper and important to connect them all to the right ports. Some people have specific methods of connecting, like not using certain ports. I use the first ones available and leave the rest open. So I'm going to connect it like so. Now when I connect it to the router, I'm going to be using the Gigabit Ethernet 01 interface, and I'm going to connect it to the fast Ethernet port 010, like so. Now once you've got this far, you have limited connectivity between the PCs to the switch. You have no connectivity, however, from the switch to the router. So in order to do that, we're going to need to console into both devices and enable IP addresses and the subnet mask and default gates like in the addressing table. In order to do that, you can console using any of the PCs available. I'm going to be using PC 0 because it is the first one on the left. So in order to do this, you'll grab a console cable, you will use it into the RS-232 port, and you will connect it, you will actually console, so you'll connect it to the console. In real life, you'll be using a program, a termulator, emulator program, such as Terraterm. This will just be using the terminal option. We're going to say no to configuration dialog. And first what we're going to need to do is we're going to give it a host name. Our one's simple because it's a router, and it'll be the one we'll be using. The next what we're going to need to do is set up the Gigabit Ethernet 01 interface. Now in order to do that, we have to type in the proper commands. And we'll be using the IP address in the table, which is going to be 192.168.1.1, with the subnet mask that I made myself, which is going to be 255.255.255.224. Now that we're this far, we need to type no shutdown. That way the port basically goes online now. So now the interface is up. Next what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to supply a domain name to the router. In order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the configure line, so we can exit out of here. What we're going to do is we're going to do IP domain name. Now we've given it a domain. I used my name for an example. And then we're going to do no IP domain lookup. That is, in case you enter the wrong thing in a privilege line, it doesn't search for 20 minutes looking to translate it into a domain name. Now that we've got that, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to enable SSH. In order to do that, we have to enter the proper commands. We're going to be using the crypto key generate RSA method. Now it's going to ask you what's the modulus that you want to add it to, how many bits are going to be in it. So I'm going to set it to 1024. And now it's generating the keys. When you hit enter, we have finally enabled SSH. Next, what we're going to want to do, I forgot to mention, is we're going to add a banner to this. So in order to do that, we'll go banner. Now that's set, in order to see that, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and exit out. Now you see the warning right here, that's our banner. Anytime the console's open, it will display that message. Now 3 important things to do in router configuration is to secure all lines. So we're going to do that now. First, let's give the enable command a password. We're going to be using Cisco for all the passwords in this demonstration. Now we're going to be securing all 3 lines, the console, the auxiliary, and the VTY. We're going to do the line auxiliary. And we're going to do the line VTY. Now, in order to hide all these passwords that we have just set, we're going to use a command that is called service password encryption. This will encrypt all the passwords that have been entered. Oh, I forgot the dash. My fault. Now, all the passwords that have been entered are now encrypted. In order to show this, we're going to use a simple command. I actually have to back out of config. And here's the enable secret password. You can see it's been modified. We have the IP domain. We have no IP domain lookup. We have the interface list. And here are the 3 lines they have been set up. Now further, what we're going to need to do is set up the virtual local area network for the switch 1. Before we do that, we're going to need to save all the things we just did to the configuration when it starts up. In order to do that, we're going to enter a simple command Now in doing this, you just saved all the configuration you just did. So now we can go ahead and set up this switch. We're going to set up the IP address for the virtual local area network as provided in the addressing table. We're going to do the no shut command, that way it goes online. And now we just set up the virtual local area network for the switch. A next important step is to configure all the network interface cards on all the end devices. That way they match what's on the addressing table. In order to do that, we're going to go to a PC. We're going to go to the IP configuration, and we're going to set it as set in the addressing table. So for the first PC, it's going to be 192.168.1.3. The default gateway is important. If you don't have that, your computer will not be able to communicate on the network. Where this comes from, it is the port that is connected to the router on the gigabit Ethernet interface, which in this example is going to be right here. So we've got that computer set up. Let's go ahead and do that to the rest. And we're going to do the last one. Now with this, you can go and highlight all of the areas to make sure that you've set everything correctly. So far it seems to me that everything's been set properly in order to be able to ping from location to location. So we're going to try to ping from PC 0 to to router 0, just to ensure connectivity. We're going to use the command prompt, and we're going to ping the IP address that connects to the G01 interface. So this is going to go from the computer PC 0 to router 0. The connection was successful. Okay, now let's try PC 0 to the switch 0. We only lost one packet in the transition. It might just have been a simple resolution error. Let's try it one more time. There we go. We successfully pinged from the destination PC0 to the switch 0. Now let's see if we can ping from a PC to another PC on this simple network. This is going to go from the PC0 to the PC3. We're going to see if we can connect. It was successful. Now, just because you can ping from one spot to another doesn't necessarily mean you can ping the other way, the opposite. Now let's see if we can do that. Let's ping from PC3. Actually, let's go with PC2, and we're going to ping to the router. The ping was successful. Now we're going to let's ping to computer 1. And we have a successful connection. That is a simple network. A lot of errors many people can have, I've had this in the past, is if you enter the wrong IP address, say let's go here. Say this is off by one character. Say the IP address is 12.3. That's on another network, meaning that you won't be able to ping to that PC. Let's try. Let's ping from PC3 to PC0. As you see, the reply from the host is unreachable. This is because of a simple error. All it takes is one number and it can throw it off. Now I'm going to show you the math part of the subnetting that I did. This is the subnetting that I did. As you can see, the subnet is going to be for the network 192.168.1.0. As you can see in the middle usable addresses that I have are 192.168.1.1 through 192.168.1.6. And that's how they go to from the router. The new subnet mask that I came up with is 255.255.255.224. And that concludes my video. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate a like.